Hi, it's me, Sara Schairer from Compassion It, here again to share with you another video about how you can self-compassion it during Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week and beyond. So self-compassion, do you know what that is? In your line of work, whether you're a volunteer or you work with the homeless community as your day-to-day job, what you do is not easy. You're doing very difficult work. It may seem never ending. You may feel like you're not making progress. You're in the midst of suffering day in and day out, and that's tough. And you are probably suffering too, and if you don't learn how to skillfully tend to that suffering, you may experience burnout. So I want to share with you the three main pillars of self-compassion so that you can begin to bring self-compassion into your day-to-day life. So these are the three pillars as defined by Kristen Neff, who's the main researcher of self-compassion out of the University of Texas at Austin. And she says one main pillar of self-compassion is having awareness or mindfulness of the fact that you're suffering. So this is non-judgmental awareness where you can say, hey, I'm suffering right now. I can tell my body is tense, my stomach's in knots. This is a moment of suffering for me. And you're not going to be hard on yourself about it, right? This is non-judgmental awareness. You're just going to notice, hey, this is hard for me too. This may be while you're in the midst of suffering of another. You can still notice that you're suffering as well. A second component of self-compassion is the notion of common humanity. And this is the idea that you are not alone in your suffering. Oftentimes we think, man, I'm the only one that's struggling right now. How come everyone else seems like they have it under control? Please know that is not the case. Most people with whom you interact are suffering in some way. We just aren't showing it, right? So it feels comforting to know you're not alone, that your suffering does not separate you from others. In fact, it just makes you a part of this human team that we're all on. And then the third component of self-compassion is this radical idea that you might treat yourself the way you would treat your friends, with kindness and encouragement. Instead of being hard on yourself, change that critical voice and instead be kind to yourself. This is not easy to do. We're not usually taught to speak this way to ourselves, but it can help. So, why don't we normally practice self-compassion? We usually think that self-compassion will make us soft. Maybe I won't be able to excel or achieve as much if I'm kind to myself. Research indicates that is not the case at all. In fact, when you're kind to yourself, people who have high self-compassion are much more resilient, so they can bounce back quickly and keep going. So I hope you will compassionate and self-compassionate today and every day. Please feel free to reach out to me at compassionit.com if you have questions, comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you again for the great work that you do. Take care.